Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're joining us. I'm very excited to introduce our guest, Dr. Lisa Collins. Dr. Lisa Y. Collins is a respected racial healing leader, life coach, star trauma practitioner, author, and assistant professor. Wow, that's so exciting. I want to call you Dr. Lisa, but I think I'm going to stick with Lisa. I'm so happy that you're here and you're going to be sharing with us how energy medicine can really make the difference in business success, especially since we have all these negative beliefs. I'd love to have you share a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be journeying into today.
Thank you, Cindy. What an honor to be here with you to have this great conversation. Really, the work that I started really began with your work. When I started to look at energy medicine, I wasn't really quite sure that it even existed. But through actually using your work, your books, your audiobooks, it started to open up this amazing journey, which actually started in 2017, where I started to examine negative belief systems and open up my energy and clear my energy for the success I have today.
So you are quite successful, and I have nothing but respect for you. What do you consider energy medicine to be? And it can be an informal, kind of like take on it. What is it to you?
To me, that's a really great question. To me, it started with me knowing about my energy centers, my chakras, me knowing about how things got lodged or stuck in my body, and me thinking that, at the age I was, like, those things are gone. But what I found through an examination, through calming the body and calming the mind, that some of those things were still there and not assisting me in my goals.
I'm really happy that you're talking about the body because sometimes when we're talking about energy, 99.99% of all energy is subtle, but we still need to be body based. That's so important. What kind of approaches did you start to take with energy medicine to help you with, like you're saying, those blocks to success?
Yes. I think the first thing that I did is I had to get to know my body, and I wasn't connected, like my mind wasn't connected to my body. So my gut, my heart, my mind all needed to be connected together. And meditation was one of those things. And as many people say, oh, I can't meditate. Oh, it's too much. I started with guided meditations. I started with walking meditations. I started with music meditations, visual meditations. Any place where my mind was quiet, I called it a meditation.
Well, that makes sense because you talk about needing to make space. And I would assume we need the space to go after those patterns to figure out what's like sunk inside of us that needs to be freed up to go forward.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that surprised me when I start to examine myself and work on these things is that once I quieted, I could hear those subtle things. I could see those subtle things. And then I became curious, what does this actually mean? And is it serving me? And I'm so grateful I was able to remove and still removing negative belief patterns that really were roadblocks.
We have a lot of them, don't we?
Yes.
I mean, I love that you talk about curiosity. What's the role of curiosity? I grew up reading Curious George books and going, so it's okay to be curious. I'd love to have you share a little bit about the importance of curiosity.
Yes, curiosity is it is the ability to be able to wonder. And at first um I thought that I knew a lot. Well, I didn't know as much as I thought I did. And this opening of the door of wondering, I wonder what that is. I wonder if that's me. And it happened first in meditation, because in meditation, when I would hear a negative voice, I started to separate the the Lisa within, the higher Lisa, and that voice is not mine actually. It sounds familiar and it seems like it's me, but it's not me. And I start to separate that out. And that curiosity help me to go after other negative belief systems.
Where do you think those negative belief systems come from? You're talking about the voice that's not the true self. Where do we gather all that negativity and that destructive, kind of thinking or feeling?
I think it comes from many places. Definitely the media. The media growing up, patterns of growing up. Sometimes I would say, whose voice is that? Oh, that's Aunt Claudia's voice. Oh, that's not my voice. Anything that doesn't say you're wonderful, you look great today. I love the way that lipstick looks on you. If it's not positive, it's not mine.
I love that attitude. So then how do you go about separating from that voice or those voices? And even what kind of attitude do you have toward them while you're dealing with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Being able to embrace all that is and not I just a lot of the things that I grew up with or that I think were like either black or white, negative or positive. But being able to put my arms out and embrace all that is not working for me. And I became curious by looking at my belief systems through something I called a thinking map, which I learned in conscious freedom life coaching. I'm a life coach, where you look at the shadow and you look at the shadow in these really subtle ways. So if something happens at work, I'm upset. Anytime upset, I'd carry a little book and I'd write down what happened. And then I would ask myself, what happened? Like what really happened? Not blaming other people, keeping it on myself. How did you feel? And then I would ask myself, what is the deep belief about yourself?
Wow. So can you better explain the thinking map? Is that the process that you're using to uncover, to find out what's really going on? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes, I call it the thinking map because it helps me to think. And what it is, it's a process. So it's like one bubble, like a graphic organizer. I see it as a graphic organizer. What happened in this situation? In this situation, I didn't want to go to this meeting. And how did I feel in this situation? Like moving over a bubble. Well, I felt horrible and moody and I couldn't shake it. And then going down, what is the deep belief about myself? Now, that question, when I was first asked, I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm the victim in the situation. There's no deep belief about myself. But narrowed down to three buckets that are encompassing buckets: powerlessness, unworthiness, or deprived. Which one of those am I, do I feel? It was a hard question at first.
Yeah, but that's amazing. So reflect a little bit for us on powerlessness. What goes into that bucket? What comes out of that bucket?
Many, many things go into that bucket. It's a long list. And in this particular instance, I felt powerless in this meeting I was in. I was a I was actually in charge of the meeting. I didn't know what the meeting was about. It was an unknown. By using this thinking map, I was able to sit down and say, I feel powerless over this meeting, and take that back to between the ages of 0 and 10. Is there ever a time that you felt powerless? Many times. Many, many times, but those times were super exceeding into this grown-up time.
So you're tracking back into when the powerlessness was real and what happened to you because of it. And you just don't need that to rear its head again when we're adults. That's what we're really, kind of talking about.
Absolutely. And I think the part of the thinking map that I incorporated from what I learned was then I rewrote the narrative, which I love. I sat down and I started to write inside of this meeting, and I journaled and I was like, oh, that's not happening today. Actually, I was a decision maker in that meeting. What a different approach from being, I can't stand this meeting and my body telling me like something's happening bad in this meeting. No, that was before. Now, that particular unknown powerlessness doesn't come up anymore.
That's great. Because powerlessness is just, it's a soggy feeling. I don't like it. I don't like the fear that comes when I'm feeling powerless. And typically when it's overwhelming like that, correct? It's because it's old.
Exactly, very old. I mean, I think it was from when I was a kid and I lived with my mom and all of her siblings. So I didn't know at that time, like I didn't even have the memory. But yet, once I acknowledged, it dissipated and went away. And what moves in its space? Good, positive energy moves in its space.
So, will you share a little bit more about that lack of worthiness? I sometimes feel like that's underneath so many of our issues. I have people of all ages talk about, I don't feel worthy, I feel shameful. I'd love to unpack that bucket a little more.
Yeah, that's a good one. And it shows up in all these various ways, right? There's many definitions of being unworthy. And for it exactly ties into adulthood is that we grab onto it right away. But through using this tool, what happens is it's not true. Like my idea of unworthiness, like that, it feels it in my body. But just like that other example, once I start to look at it and see what happened in the shadow, so we take what's in the shadow and we put it in the light. I feel unworthy. Well, why would you feel like that? What happened to make you think that? Well, that's not happening today. Look around. You're amazing. You do this, you have that. And then now shame is different, but shame is a different beast. And to go and rewrite the narrative again, the feelings are not facts. And those feelings are usually attached to an energy from long ago that just seemed to stay there. And as I rewrote those experiences, as I forgave myself and forgave the people involved, the energy dissipated.
That's, we all need that, don't we? Because we need to be in the present. I mean, that's been told to us so many times, be in the here, be in the now, and you're helping people with that dig dive. So let's talk about that third category, if you would, for a little while, which is basically about lack, correct?
Yes. Yes, the lack. Oh, so many places where it shows up. And what I've seen working with professionals is that when they're at work and something occurs, let's say someone needs them at a meeting or their budget got cut, then this huge lack comes in and all of the feelings that go with it. Let's just call it like the tornado. And then they're superimposing that it's about work, but actually it's not. This is the same idea that I work across the board around trauma. It's actually not about the thing you think it's about the thing underneath.
Well, that makes sense because everything's about the base, everything's about the foundation. But in the world of work, especially in energy medicine, energy healing, we're all attuned to pay attention to these things. But when we don't make enough money for the month, when we don't feel like we have enough clients, when we seem to lack skills to do social media, would you still walk people through these same processes to go into those buckets and figure out their roots?
I would. I would because um part of those ideas about I call it the world, how the world has all of these things that we must, like a whack-a-mole, you have to pay attention to all these different things and something happens. There is a calmness and a peace that comes from the first part of that meditation of knowing how you are within I have the higher self, the good within. And that calmness helps me mitigate the other things in the world. And just to and to be curious to see, well, what is there? Because there's always other doors opening, but when my vibration is too low and I'm not curious, I can't see the other things. And actually that happened yesterday. I can't see the other things.
And so as soon as we're aware of this, we can stop. We can do the thinking map. We can get, kind of move into awareness. What happens if we don't catch on? If we're not really, our radar's not on when we're going into those feelings of I'm deprived, I'm lacking, I'm powerless, I'm not worthy. What are some of the signs that we're kind of tumbling into those?
Yeah, that's a great question because I call it like the pyramid of thought. When I have the pyramid of thought, where my thought has a thought and my thought has a thought has a thought, and I'm kind of spinning. So each person, when you can identify it's negative belief systems, but at a practical level, what are the things that you do when you're spinning? When I'm thinking, I'm not in that place. When I'm trying to manage other people, I'm not doing well. When I'm making goals for myself, even if they're minute goals during the day and checking off my list and running, I'm not doing well. I stop and take a breath. Stop and take a breath, recenter and get quiet, and then listen to what needs to happen next. Just listen. One of my best tools is using music. Music can change my vibration anytime. Find out what your tools are that really work for your body, whether it's music, exercise, but always have them close. And when you need them, reach into that pocket to your toolbox and use one of them to get yourself centered.
So I think we can always tell when we're off. It's a matter of catching it before, like you're saying, we've spun out too much. What are some of the other tools? I love the idea of music. For some of us, it might be, taking even deeper breaths, going outside. What have you seen work for yourself or other people?
Wow, nature. Nature is an amazing, amazing tool for me. I have been in some amazing nature places, and just being among the trees, being a walk in nature is definitely an amazing tool. I mentioned music. Sometimes I like to sit and just listen to the birds.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm I'm actually reminded of a study that I witnessed maybe 20 or 30 years ago in Wisconsin that bird music was played in an agricultural plot and all the plants grew like 3 times bigger than they would have. So, where I'm from, we do squash competition, like how big is your squash or these kind of things. So, anything I think that comes from nature is really going to fuel us.
Nature's a big one. Moving the body in any way is a big one. Um, when things have gotten really, really bad, I watch a movie that is louder than my head.
I love the way you've said that. so, so, so some of it's distraction, true, from the shadow, but then we need to go back into the shadow too. If we're really going to change and show up the way we are, our beautiful, dynamic, awesome selves, we still have to go back into the shadow, correct?
Yeah, we do. We have to go back and revisit it. And we don't have to go alone. We can take an ancestor with us. We can take one of our guides with us. And Harriet Tubman is who goes with me. And we can sit and be curious and we can go and we can look at that thing. And I have done it. Things I don't want to look at. And I've never been alone. And I have the ability to be free because of it.
What do you think is the gift of the shadow, if there is one? I don't want to just assume that either.
Right. I think for me, I think probably it was protection for me to be able to have these things that heighten me for this unknown. Unknown is that unknown powerlessness. That was something that heightened my awareness. So when there were places where there were unknowns, it probably protected me for a long time. I just don't need it anymore in the same way.
So we can be positive, optimistic, welcoming of the shadow and say thank you and then move through it. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely, absolutely encompassing and welcoming of all, and to see, do I continue to need this? When I was younger, I did need it, and it did help me, but I don't need it in the same way today. And to thank it for helping me and protecting me in those years, and then to also say, I think I got it from here.
What do you think are some of the more common factors from the shadow that inhibit our businesses in particular?
Yeah, that's I could talk from my own experience. I mean, fear of the unknown is one. Lack of trust for people, being able to move into new areas or new activities that we haven't done before. I went to the Arctic. I'd never done that before. I hiked on the tundra. I'd never done that before. In my mind would be like, no, it's too fearful. It's outside. It's too far away. But some of those things that would restrict us from opportunities that come our way, instead of saying yes or asking, going deep inside and asking, and not letting fear stop us from actually meeting Cindy Dale and having Cindy Dale on my podcast.
That was great fun too. Can you just tell us a little bit about the Arctic? I mean, we'll tie it into business somehow, but I'm thrilled.
I couldn't believe it. I was asked, well, do you want to go learn about fly fishing in Alaska? And I said yes. I mean, yes, yes, yes is the magic word. And I went and I heard everything, and I heard how the tents work, and I saw all the stuff. And then at the end they said, well, would you like to go on a trip? And I raised my hand. My soul said yes. I'd never been in the backcountry. I'd never I'd never done anything like that before. And literally my soul said yes. And I think I was open enough that my soul could say yes. And before I knew it, I was on my first trip to Alaska and to the Arctic, to the wildlife refuge, to the Gitchin community and the native village to learn about their lives. And now I assist other people to go.
What an adventure. That is so wonderful. And business is an adventure too. I mean, all of life is an adventure, and that kind of helps us cope with the uncertainty, the powerlessness, the who am I? I'm not going to have what I need in order to do this. But I think one of the key phrases I want to pull out of everything you've said is my soul said yes.
My soul said yes.
How do you know when your soul says yes? I'm just fascinated by that phrase.
I think I was clear enough. Like I had removed enough belief systems that I could hear. Um, it just reverberated through my whole body, and didn't understand it. That's why I say it's my soul, because my mind did not understand it logically, but my soul knew, and I said yes. That's I think is the clarification. I didn't think about it. I didn't do pro and con list. It was completely my body and my mind, without my mind.
So, running a successful business often requires saying no. A lot of saying no is to those deep fears and the inheritances, the voices that are not our true voices. And a lot of it requires saying yes. Yes to taking this risk or this balance or putting out this service. How do you balance the no's and the yeses?
My soul helps because of being quiet and doing the work of removing those negative belief systems. More of my authentic self, or more of who my spiritual self actually shows up. So when an opportunity comes my way, I do get quiet and I ask, is this an opportunity for me to serve? And if it isn't, maybe it's something, I call it going through my screen. Maybe it comes through my screen and I'm supposed to assist and move them on to someone who can help them. But if it's for me to be of service in that situation, then that is how I make my business decisions.
Do you rely on intention? And I'm bringing that up because that's been one of the most common words for at least 20 years in the energy healing, spirituality, consciousness movement. What does the word intention or the act of it mean for you?
Intention. I think for me, the intention has to do with all of the clearings of the stuff away. So when I clear all this stuff away, the intention becomes more clear to me of where I'm going, and including my ancestral stuff. So if I'm clearing that, then intention seems to find me. And I want to do what I'm here to do. I want to do what my soul's work is. So those intentions, instead of me saying, I have an intention for this, I'm asking the universe, what do you have for me to do?
That's a great way to frame it up. And for most people who are called into and going toward holistic businesses, whether they're an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, an energy healer, the soul is involved. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think it is soul based work.
If you had asked me this, like, I don't know, 2017, I would have said this is ridiculous. But the more and more that I got to know who I am, then I knew what I was being called to do. And the reason why I knew it is that things kept showing up in my life consistently that created a road for me. But the thing is that I needed to be quiet enough. I needed to know my body enough, and I need to be able to hear my soul and know that this is what's for you. Without that other work, the road, I mean, I could literally, like the Wizard of Oz, the road just became clear.
And I'm going to emphasize we have to do the work.
Oh, yes, a lot of work involved. Yes, there's a lot of work involved. And I'm so grateful for all of the practitioners like you and all the other people who are doing the work that I would call up and work with. And I thought, wow, how is that possible? But it was. And of all the people I've worked with, they have opened up their arms and welcomed me. And sometimes the work is difficult, but it is always freeing. It is always freeing. And you cannot buy that. You cannot buy that anywhere. The freedom, it just feels good.
Yeah, and we can have soft landings. They don't need to be hard landings either. They can be soft if we're encompassed on the path with others. Like you're saying, the visibles and the invisibles are there to help us
Yes.
too.
I love that. The visibles and the invisibles. Yeah, I'm not alone in the work. I'm not alone. It is miraculous what has happened to me um, in my journey. And I'm so honored to be able to share with other people, to hold their hand and let's walk with you to this place that we're going.
Can you give us one or two examples of what kind of growth you've been able to see with these ideas and your depth in your own business?
Wow, I really can. I think at the beginning, I didn't believe that I was called to do any of this work. And I think the as I got rid of the belief system that you are called and this is your work, um, being able to go to Alaska was one. I just recently came from Ireland. Those are outside things, big outside things, but inside is the peace. I have been able to walk alongside people and coach people in racial trauma and in trauma, organizations, and I can't believe it. And then also help other practitioners who are on their journey to be able to help them be able to follow in my footsteps and your footsteps, many other people's footsteps to be able to go there. So my hands are in scholarship, racial healing, trauma healing, conservation and being in nature, all of those things. And in 2017, none of those things, as well as helping other people to be able to follow their dreams by ridding themselves of the belief systems that stand in the way.
And you're just saying yes. You're following your soul and you're saying yes, and you're brave enough to do it. So I'm very honored by you displaying your courage because I do think we need a little bit of courage to say no to what's not working and yes to the dreams too.
Absolutely. And I think people like you and practitioners that actually show us that it's possible, like give us tools that it's possible. I feel very much like in that arena where I can pick up a book and say, you know what, I'm going to try this out. And it opens the door. And I just want to thank you for that because it's the world.
Well, we're all thanking you. I mean, you're the way shower. You are the light bringer. I'm so excited. I would also love to invite you to guide us through an exercise if you have one prepared. We'd love to actually participate in your work, Lisa.
Awesome. Well, I would love to do a meditation with you. And this is a very grounding meditation, just to be in touch with your body and then to open up whatever channels. So I would say put your feet firmly on the floor, on the ground. Take a deep breath in and slowly push it out. And we're going to start at the top of your head. Ask the top of your head to relax. And just like a warm, soothing, calm flow of water, you're going to work down your body and ask your back of your head to relax, your brow to relax, your face may become a little elongated to relax, the back of your neck. Have that feeling go to your shoulders. Easy breathing down your shoulders, down your back. You just feel a nice warm feeling. Your elbows, your arms, your fingers. Ask your body to relax. You're in charge of your body is not in charge of you. Your chest, your neck, all of your organs, your sides, where you are sitting in your chair, your backside. Slowly have that warm feeling and just ask your body to relax. Your thighs, ask your thighs to relax. Your knees, energy center of your knees, all the way down to your calves, all the way to the bottom of your feet. And now, everything that's occurred, anything you don't want, push it out the bottom of your feet. And now, pull positive, good, clean, wonderful energy up through your feet from the ground, all the way up. Slowly have that energy, positive, warm, refreshing energy come up your body, all the way out, slowly to the top of your head. Take a deep breath in, hold it, and slowly let it out. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.
I feel like warm honey. like like I just have honey drizzled down and all kinds of breezes coming up. That was beautiful. I want you to do this 5 times a day for me.
Just call me up, Cindy.
But we can do this for ourselves too.
And we can do this for ourselves anytime we can. And one tool that I've used is I've recorded myself in a meditation or in a mantra or something that I need to hear that's going to raise my vibration. And I will listen to it wherever I am, in the airport, in the car, waiting for a meeting. And it's in my ear. So that's another thing. You can just grab that thing that means something to you and carry it with you. Have it with you.
So we can be our own best coaches.
Yes. We have to be.
We do need to be, and especially when we're in business. I mean, that's our livelihood. That's the calling. That's what we feel like we're summoned to do. We need to be there with ourselves, for ourselves, and as the soul who we are, too.
Absolutely. And, I believe in community. And we talked about not walking alone and just having other like-minded people that you can call and talk to, but absolutely being there for yourself and surround yourself with people who are going in the direction you're going.
And I'm just going to throw one last question in. What if we're around people who aren't going our direction? In fact, they want to pull us back. I think that's a really important question to ask because we all experience that, especially when we're in a purpose centered business.
I have definitely experienced that. And I guess one of the things that has helped me is that, I taught for a long time, and there's something about teachers. They all have this selective kind of like listening tool that they can just kind of pull the shades down sometimes. So, what I began to do, and even when I started to do this work, there's definitely people and places and things that are not supportive. And I really went deep within. And what ended up happening for me is the more that I focus within, and maybe this doesn't happen for everyone, those people seem to be removed slowly, one by one. They just, the path was cleared. And I didn't give them the energy, I gave myself the energy that I needed to continue. And they were removed from the path, or my path went another direction and they were on their direction.
That sounds key. Give yourself the energy, don't give it to the naysayers. Any other thoughts? Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to leave us with, Lisa?
I would say that you're awesome. You're amazing. And I hope that that's what's going through your head all the time. When you hit a lull, pick up your tools, music, nature, have them ready. Have them ready on the side. These are my tools, and use them to recalibrate, to recalibrate. Love, 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 love yourself. Love yourself. You can do it. You're meant to do it. Love yourself.
Beautiful. Love yourself and bring yourself with you at all times.
Hmm.
Thank you, Lisa. Dr. Lisa Collins. This was an amazing session. I've gained so much. I've learned so much. I know all of us have as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. It's awesome.